Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Go Bills podcast here on the Go Bills Podcast Network. I am your host and founder of the page, Brett McDurphy. Glad to be with you on this on this Thursday night. The first round of the NFL draft has concluded, and there has been some surprises all over the board. Some big trades that have happened as well, and the big trade that happened for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills traded up 2 spots to select Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. So let's get to know Dalton Kincaid. We'll talk about him a little bit, get to know him, and we will give you a draft grade for our thoughts on him. So Dalton Kincaid was drafted out of Utah. He, in his college career, he played in 55 career games in Division I football. 24 of those were at San Diego. He is an active career leader among tight ends in the FBS with 2,484 yards and 35 receiving touchdowns. He ranks 10th all-time in Utah with 16 receiving touchdowns. And he also was the all-conference second-team player honors in his sophomore year of college. Let's look at the strengths for him. This is off of NFL Draft Buzz. He is a super productive tight end who led the nation with 70 receptions for 890 yards, and he looks and plays like a wide receiver. Kincaid is a former basketball player who plays with smoothness and balance and shows a knack for setting up defensive backs. He also has explosion off the line and has deep threat ability as well. And he has soft hands and uses his frame effectively to shield off defenders, making him a major threat in the red zone as well. And he's quick. He's a quick athlete who is a sure-handed as a receiver and also offers yards after the catch ability. So getting to know him a little bit more, he is somebody that reminds me more of, and you saw it on here, as the Dennis Pitta, but he has the upside to be a player like Zach Ertz. He's somebody that doesn't offer a lot as a blocker, which is a little concerning. But if he can get better as a blocker and become that number 2 tight end that can block much like Lee Smith was, but a Lee Smith type of player that can also catch the ball is something that I'm looking ahead to. Now, blocking is easily teachable, whereas a guy that can catch the ball is not necessarily coachable. For me, the pick is a little bit questionable, and I know Bills Mafia, many of you may think that this pick is very questionable, but I will tell you and play the devil's advocate side of this. It's a pick that I do like because it's another player that can come in and be a focal point of the offense for the Buffalo Bills, and it's another weapon for Josh Allen. That's one thing I was looking at ahead of the NFL draft. Number 1 was an option for Josh Allen as a weapon or somebody that could block as well. So I was looking at offensive tackles or guards. Those are players that I wanted to see Buffalo grab. Now, necessarily, I was looking for a offensive tackle, but there's guys that were on the board, much like Dwan Jones or even Matthew Bergeron, and those might have been reaches at the 27th pick. Now, don't get me wrong, I would love to see Buffalo go with an offensive tackle in the second round. But like I said, they're a little bit of a reach at that point. Now, I think the player that Buffalo wanted at that position at 27 was probably a guy in Jack Campbell, who was picked much earlier than many people expected with the Detroit Lions selecting him. And I think that was a player that Buffalo was looking at. And then it just came down to who else was on the board. And I think that Dalton Kincaid, especially with him being a potential top 10 pick, top 15 pick, is something that Brandon Beane really liked about him. Number 1, he did have the back injury to end his career, and he wasn't at the scouting combine, so he wasn't able to be at the scouting combine, but he just was medically cleared to start the season, which is something that I'm totally okay with. And I think he's going to bring a lot of things to the offense for the Buffalo Bills that Dawson Knox couldn't necessarily do. So let's talk about some of the things that he can bring to the offense. Number 1 is going to be the the yards after the catch, which is an area the Buffalo ranked last in the NFL last year. So that's one area I think he can really help the Bills. Another area is going to be his route running ability and taking some pressure off of guys like Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. That's one area I really think the Buffalo needs to get better at, is that second weapon and somebody that Josh Allen can trust and be able to give the ball to, not just being a player in Stephon Diggs that always gets the ball even if he's double teamed. Now you have a guy in the middle of the field that can be that security blanket. You can throw the ball to him. You can count on him, and he can get you the ball, and he can take the top off of defenses. That's something that I'm looking forward to seeing. Now, he's also another player that can take the top off of defenses, but if somebody were to try and tackle him, he's going to get out of the tackle. So the first guy that tries to tackle him isn't going to be able to. Kurt Warner said it best. He's talked about the amount of impact that he could have on an offense, and he said that with Dalton Kincaid, he could be a player much like Travis Kelce, and he has the mold of Travis Kelce, and if he becomes even half the player that Travis Kelce has been in the NFL, I'm totally okay with that. For me, this grade, I've gone back and forth between a B and a C on this grade, and for me, this is going to be a B- grade. I'm okay with the pick. I just want to see what Buffalo does with their next picks in the second and third round. So for me right now, it's a B-. If Buffalo were to get a offensive tackle like Dwan Jones in the second round, I'd probably move this up to a B grade or even a B+. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as on our website, thegobillspodcast.com. It's actually gobillspodcast.com, not thegobillspodcast.com. Don't forget to go over to that page where you can see all of our upcoming shows that will be going on. We will be going live again tomorrow for the second and third round of the 2023 NFL Draft. We'll hopefully be doing that with Nickel City Mafia and Red, White, and Bills as well. And don't forget to stay tuned to our Instagram for where we will be announcing the picks as soon as they come in. This has been the Go Bills Podcast, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Go Bills Podcast. Until then, Go Bills.